Hey everybody, welcome to today's webinar, The Power of Room Technology, How a Swiss Hotel Maximizes Guest Comfort and Revenue. My name is Emily. I am a marketing manager here at SuitePad, and I will be your moderator for today. We are joined by Franziska Föhrer from Art Deco Hotel Montana and Tilman Volk from SuitePad. A little bit more information about the webinar. So it'll take about 45 minutes in total, and we would really like to hear from you too today. So don't hesitate to ask your questions using the question chat window in your control panel to the right of your screen, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. We will also be recording this webinar, so you will each receive a copy of the recording in the next few days. Now, without further delay, I'll pass it over to you, Tilman, and everyone enjoy the webinar.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Emily. And also welcome from my side. As Emily said, my name's Tilman. I'm one of the two co-founders here at SuitePad and am kind of responsible for all things product and operations. So especially when it comes to implementing the product into the various hotels that we work with, that falls kind of in my responsibility. And I'm extremely excited today to be talking to Franziska because Franziska will be introducing herself in a second. But the topic of today's webinar is pretty much the core of what we do. Guest engagement, maximizing guest comfort, and also the enhancement of the whole experience for them. That's what we do at SuitePad, and I think it's super cool and that we have Franziska here as a user of the system, a very successful user of the system, being able to guide us through her installation. I'll just be asking a few questions left and right, but otherwise it will be Franziska leading us through this presentation. And yeah, with that out of the way, Franziska, welcome. Who are you and what do you do at Art Deco Hotel Montana?
Yeah, welcome also from my side. I'm very happy to be here today and tell you something about our story from the Hotel Montana and SuitePad. I am head of marketing and sales since 2017 at the Art Deco Hotel Montana, and we have SuitePad since 2014. So I'm working with SuitePad actually since the beginning, since I started here. So first, I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about our hotel, about the Art Deco Hotel Montana. We are based in Lucerne on a hilltop location. So our USP is a beautiful view over Lake Lucerne, the city of Lucerne, and the mountains of central Switzerland. We are a 4-star superior hotel, and we have in total 62 rooms in 16 different room categories. So that's also sometimes a bit of difficulty, but where also SuitePad helps us sometimes to bring a bit order in it. We have a restaurant with a very nice terrace. We have 3 bars. We have some massages we offer. And maybe also interesting to know is the main target group are Swiss guests and Americans, and they come here for leisure, so for holidays. Yeah, so that was a little bit about the Art Deco Hotel Montana, and maybe also the main reason why we chose SuitePad. It's very easy and a sustainable way to keep all the information up to date and to help us yeah, to keep the guests also happy because they have all the information they need during their stay in the hotel.
So thanks for the introduction then also of the hotel. It looks like a beautiful property and I can't wait to visit sometime myself. You just said we've been working together for quite some time, which we take a lot of pride in. We think it's great, and it's great to have customers and partners that we've been working with for a long time because it shows that the dedication is there on both sides to make the collaboration work. You just mentioned, you know, why you would use SuitePad, and I think the whole topic around communication is, of course, a large one. Maybe from your side, Franziska, why is guest communication important in the first place for a hotel?
Yeah, I think it's a significant role to ensure guest satisfaction. They are happy and satisfied when they know everything about the hotel, about our service, about our extras. And yeah, I guess information is the most important thing for our guests here in the hotel during their stay.
And what about brand awareness then? How do you boost your brand awareness and the brand communication of the Art Deco Hotel with a digital guest directory like ours?
Um, I would say combined with SuitePad, it's especially in the hotel already with our extras, with our we present the restaurant, we present the bars, and that's the brand communication on the SuitePad because they're already on the site. Before, at the moment, it's not so important, but here we show the hotel shop, so that's for me brand communication as well here on site then.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also what you guys do really well, or at least from our side, comparing it to a whole host of different installations that we've done over the years, roughly 1,000 of them, yeah, actually a little bit more, is you have a very strong corporate identity, and we did our very best to make that come to life. I'm really excited to show in the second board when you're going to show the demo of what it actually looks like, but we get a little sneak peek here on the right-hand side with the logo, with the fonts and the old imagery, making it look like a really bespoke solution for you guys. Now,
Yeah, definitely. And we also update that from time to time. So we had a new corporate design last year, and SuitePad was super fast to yeah, change everything. And like that now, it's absolutely our corporate identity.
so you have the communication part, you have the brand and part. We're going to get to upselling in a second, but the core piece in between to make upselling happen in the first place is of course engagement, and that's also what I said going in. Like engagement is at the core of what we do. How do you use SuitePads to engage your guests?
Yeah, we have some features on SuitePad, for example, newspapers. That's a good part of the engagement. They can book the massages or they see the massages there. They can give a feedback, a quick feedback to us. So we also know during them stay how they feel and how they are. And which is very maybe interesting for everybody. We also measure the average time our guests spend on the SuitePad, and it's also, for example, a marketing goal during the year, and it's around 3 minutes at the moment, which is a lot. It's a nice time they spend on the SuitePad, and yeah, use it also to see what they can do in the city, what is also engagement. So they really use it a lot, and yeah.
I think you guys do a really good job at that. You just mentioned it yourselves. 3 minutes is a lot of time, especially if you consider, for those of you in the audience who work in marketing, who know the session times typically that you would see on the website.
Yeah.
That really is a whole different league. And for us, that's also the reason why we continue to work on that number, because that's one of the core KPIs that we try to optimize for as well. You just rattled off a whole good host of ways to engage guests. One is on your list there, on your screenshot there, the phone as well. Little known fact, and we're going to get to the tips and tricks in a second, but just a little tidbit from our knowledge as well. Whenever you have the phone activated via SuitePad, and that is a feature that we support, the usage goes up. And interestingly, not just the usage of the phone, because obviously if you're going to use the phone for those few seconds that you're going to call the reception, that time was going to be added to the sessions. No, it also actually increases the usage of the tablet as a whole, and that's something that can really help with engagement. We'll get to the tips and tricks a little later on, but for right now, over to you.
Yeah, I also can confirm that with the telephone, because they use the telephone, and like that they also get to know the tablet, or they see it in the room and they need to use it, which is a very nice feature at the moment.
So now we have the guest's interest, or we have the communication place, we have the corporate identity, we've engaged the guest, we know that the guest is using the platform. What happens next? How do you make the guest transform that engagement into actual revenue or for yourselves?
Yeah, I think in this part I will change to our SuitePad live version here. Can you see that?
We can see it just fine.
All right. So I think one of our most important features is the room service, and here we also get a lot of orders. So we have all our room service card in here, and the guests can order. And I just checked it before. We had until now around 300 orders. So that really works well, and a lot of guests order through the SuitePad, and we can serve it very fast to our guests. So the room service, I would say, is one of the most important. Then also one of my favorite is down here, our hotel shop. One of our only ways to sell also something to our guests. So we have here our culinary collection, or they can also order from our cosmetic line, which they have in the room. So here they can order all our products from the hotel. It's also a very nice upselling feature. Then here we have just since 1 year, which is also very nice to extend the stay, so they can request to stay 1 or 2 nights longer with us, and also they can request a late checkout. We use these 2 features just as a request, and then we contact our guests again in the room if it's possible or not. Go more up here, yeah, or also here vouchers is very nice. Our guests can order directly a voucher, and they also have a little discount when they order it on site. Then we have the green option, which is also a bit newer. They can skip the room cleaning for 1 or 2 nights, and of course we save a lot of time and costs with that. Go back here. And since the beginning, we have our famous pillow menu. So our guests can order a different pillow to their room, or a bathrobe, toothpaste, everything what they need. And that is also very easy for us and for the front office team, yeah, to sell some extras. So I would say these are the most important upselling or cross-selling tools we have on the SuitePad. Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you for showing us through here. While we're on this installation here, I think one thing to point out is just how well you work with the imagery. I think if you're a SuitePad user already, you know that you can have items that can be bookable without any item images. We do see a real difference in the conversion of items that have images versus that do not. So especially, I thought you just showed the pillow menu and the hotel shop. Those are very typical categories that we see in other hotels as well. Not often do we see it with great imagery. So this is a really great example of how to use it to really make it as enticing as possible for guests to use that feature. With that in mind, Francisca, which is the feature that is most used by guests?
Yeah, on the first place, it's a room service, of course, for the orders. Then also the telephone, because we do not have another telephone in the room anymore. So these are the most popular features. Also, just the information about the restaurant we have over here, or also in the hotel information, we have the classic A to Z with all the information from the hotel. They also use that a lot to get all the information. And maybe what is important or interesting here, we have uploaded some videos with room instructions. First, we started with room tours during COVID so that they could see them room tour on a video on SuitePad, and also some instructions because we have some rooms, for example, with a whirlpool. And I wanted to shut down this part after COVID, but then we saw, okay, it's one of the most popular features, so we decided to keep it on the SuitePad, and our guests really like this introduction parts and information part. Yeah, and
That's
the
great.
pillow menu. Pillow menu
Oh.
is also very famous. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised, but I think it's great that you're using data to make your decisions there. So especially when we get started with working with hotels, you know, it's often the question, where should we put which tile, what makes most sense? And our answer is always, let's follow the data, right? Let's just try it out, and then over time adjust. And I can tell by the way you're talking about, you know, introducing the room tours during COVID and then deciding, you know what, we should take them off, but then looking at the data and being able to see, wait, this is something that guests really want. This is a kind of technology advantage in terms of guest intelligence, or an insight over guests that you would otherwise not have. So that's, I think, a great way to use our tool.
Exactly. When I step here quickly, we also have some. We also check the data for the pillow menu, for example, and we decide which pillows maybe we need to buy more, or we skip it out of the menu. So as you say, we work a lot with these data. Also for the room service menu, which are the courses that guests ordered the most, so we can really also continuously improve our offer on the SuitePad.
Definitely one of the big advantages of using technology, but there are, of course, also limits to technology, and we never saw ourselves as wanting to replace personal contact when it comes to engagement and upselling also to guests. But how do you balance that technological approach that we can, you know, help with the more personal touch that I'm sure is important at you know, properties like yours?
Yeah, I would say we have a very nice balance here in the hotel, because the SuitePad doesn't replace, for example, a receptionist, but it helps him a lot. We introduce our guests also during the check-in about the SuitePad in the room. So we show them the tablet on the front desk, and we give them a lot of information, and we tell them, so in addition to that, they find also all the information on the SuitePad in the room. So it helps us, it saves time. We cannot tell them everything, so they always can check everything on the SuitePad. So it's a nice balance from, we would like to have a personal contact with our guests, but in addition, they also find everything on the SuitePad. So it's a very nice mix, and yeah, I would say we save a lot of time through that.
That sounds like the perfect way to do it.
Yeah, we try like that, and also for me, from the marketing side, I save a lot of time, because if we have some new instructions or information, I just create a page on SuitePad and I have it online in 5 minutes. So I also save a lot of time then.
That's great to hear. And that actually brings us perfectly to our next section, which is around operations. So, you know, we covered the engagement part, we covered the upselling part. Obviously, we're a tool in your hands, and we have also dedicated quite some time of our 10-year history to optimize processes and ideally reduce costs in hotels that we partner with. Since you've implemented SuitePad, I mean, you've been there for pretty much the entire ride. How have day-to-day operations changed for you?
When we think about the day-to-day operations, for example, the green option is a theme which, very changed also our daily, how we work. So if they skip the daily cleaning, that's a very nice option. The easy cross and upselling, as I said before, all the implementation all the updating information, and also that we have this quick feedback. It's also in our daily business, yeah, changed a lot.
Let's talk about that quick feedback for a second. So how does the quick feedback that you gather on a SuitePad, how does that differ from, for instance, getting feedback, at the desk, at the front desk when the guest is checking out?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the guests, they are, we know that from our daily business, they like to write the review, but they are not telling them problems on the front desk from person to person. So sometimes they prefer to give a feedback through SuitePad. And I mean, they do it when they still are in the room, and when they check out, we can ask them why your feedback was like that, and we can yeah, talk with them about the feedback directly then. So it's also a mixed here. First they do it on the SuitePad, but then we get in touch in person with them.
And I think that's the only way to do it. And I think Franziska really touched on a really important point there. For us, the most important time to solicit feedback, especially constructive feedback, is while you can still do something about it. And that could be as early as moments after check-in. So especially if you're checking into the room, you've just walked in and you realize something's not completely as you had imagined it to be as a guest, or the check-in process took a little longer than I expected, or whatever it may be. It might be a really small thing, but if I get asked in that moment and can then transmit that feedback to the front office or to the manager on duty, that really makes me heard, and also gives me the possibility, or gives the Art Deco Hotel Montana and any hotel using this feature the opportunity to salvage that and to do service recovery before it's almost too late at the checkout desk. There's probably the last chance to do it, but we all know that some guests, as you already rightly said, Franziska, they wait, some of them, until they're back home or in the car back home, and then vent on certain websites, which of course have it makes sense, but at the same time there are better ways to handle it from our side. So that's I think it's great that you're using it that way. Another thing that you just mentioned was the green option, and you showed it a little bit earlier. Mm-hmm. This has for us been one of the key features in bringing down operational costs if done right. Could you tell us a little bit? I'm not sure if everyone caught that right in the beginning. How does it work? So a guest gets asked what if they want to have daily room cleaning, and what happens then?
Yeah, exactly. They can choose if they would like to have the daily room cleaning, and they can skip it that way. So we get the information that they would not like to have the room cleaning. And mostly we contact them again to be really sure that they really want to skip the room cleaning. And yeah, then we save a lot of time and cost during their stay with this feature. And I think you have some options that you can offer them a drink, for example, when they skip the cleaning. We didn't do that. For us, it's yeah, we don't offer anything to our guests, but they still use it. So it seems like it doesn't make a difference. And yeah, also a very nice way to do it like that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So looking at our data and also aggregating this over tens of thousands of green option bookings, if you're using SuitePad already and you're using the green option, it really does not make a difference if you offer the guest a benefit, for instance, for a free drink or not. So the evidence that we have doesn't suggest that there's any big difference there in terms of conversion rate. Both are rather similar, either with drink or without drink, but of course it can be, and this is then I guess very individual per hotel. It can be of course a way of getting people into the bar if that's an issue beforehand, right? So if you have one free drink, I think we all know how that works. You get one free drink, but typically you have two people joining at the bar, or one person having multiple drinks, and that already then has a very positive impact on on the revenue that you can make and the upselling for one guest. And of course, and I'm not sure how you do it in Lucerne, but if you have external cleaning agencies, we can have this data ready for them before they start their shift, so that you can book fewer rooms that have to be cleaned. If of course you have internal staff, that doesn't really apply as much, but at least the rooms are not clean and they can have time for other things. And one more thing on that, of course, let's add the guests that opt out of room cleaning sometimes do so for privacy reasons as well. So that can also just be a really nice guest benefit to, just being asked for, hey, should we leave you alone tomorrow? Oh, right, yes, I almost didn't think of it. I'm sleeping in tomorrow, just don't disturb, basically. Great. So this is the aspect of like the operations and the green option in general. How much in total did the SuitePad did those different features save for you since implementation?
Yeah, it's difficult to say. From my part, from the marketing department, it saves a lot of time, of course, and also a lot of print material. I mean, we do not have any print material in the room anymore because we have everything on the SuitePad. So I would say the biggest part we save is in this kind of instructions or information letters or welcome letters or stuff like that. So I would say that's the biggest part. We don't have a room service menu anymore on the room. All these things are on the SuitePad and online, available at every time. And I would say that's the part I save the most money. Yeah.
Especially not running through all rooms and updating the paperwork.
Exactly.
Yes, that's not only the printing cost, that's also the labor that goes into it. Plus, since you have, of course, the opportunity to change things on a daily basis, you can experiment more. And in fact, this is maybe something that is more from our end. We're working on features in the future to be able to experiment more a little bit with content. So being able to A/B test things is something we already offer, so that you can have different workflows and we slowly optimize them for conversion. But also, pricing, content, all those things can be dynamically implemented. So yeah, lots of ways to do it. Of course, no absolutely right way to do it for every hotel. Very individual. I'm really impressed with the way you've been doing it in Luzern. I think with that, we wrap up the optimizing the cost and the process optimizations. Let's have some tips and tricks for hoteliers. And I'm really curious to hear, Franziska, what's your SuitePad or your favorite SuitePad feature?
Yeah, maybe it's a little bit boring, but my favorite feature is the hotel shop. Because we do not have another option in-house to sell our products, and I really like that we have the own cosmetic line, we have the own culinary line with salt, olive oil, etc. And that's a very nice our guests like to have a thing to remember at the hotel, and they have it in the room, and then they can buy it in the same time. So I would say the hotel shop was a very good option which we implemented last year. At the moment, we don't have so many sales yet. It's about 200 Swiss francs until now. I also checked that before, but that's for me a very nice way to show and sell all our products. And also, as I mentioned before, these videos about the room instruction. As I said, first I wanted to skip it, but now it's also very important and a nice way to show the room and everything what the guests need to know in the room. So these are my two favorite features, I would say.
And I would add, I don't think they're boring at all. it's why we're here. Great, and this has been super insightful. before we get to the Q&A part, there's one more question obviously here on this slide, and that is this whole process of digitalization or digitization is in full swing in so many hotels around the globe. It's a complex process. You've done it on your way. Is there anything that you have in terms of advice for other hoteliers looking to use a similar solution to ours or ours to digitize?
Yeah, for me, digitalization is always have something to do with sustainability. As I mentioned before, with all the print materials we don't need to use anymore. So yeah, I also work a little bit with try and fail. So I try everything out, and when I fail, I do it another way, like you said, with A/B testing, for example. So for me, digitalization is such a nice way to try, to test, to fail, to do it again, to change, and this is just possible with digital tools.
Great.
And
Thank you so much.
maybe what I can say in this point here now, that we are also continuously try to improve and to get new features. For example, now we are on the bring your own device, so that our guests have access to the SuitePad already before they arrive. We would like to send that with our pre-stay email, so they have all the information before they arrive in the hotel, which is also a nice part of the customer journey. Yeah, which we are doing now with SuitePad.
Very cool. Thank you so much also for those words of wisdom there in terms of digitization. I think that pretty much wraps up our presentation here. Unless, Franziska, you have anything else to add, I would say let's head over to the Q&A part, and Emily, turn it over to you and see if we have any questions from the audience.
Perfect. Yes, thanks. Thanks so much to both of you. We do have a few questions. The first is, does the installation look the same for all hotels?
So I'm going to take this one if you don't mind, Franziska,
course, yeah.
because I've seen a bunch of hotel installations, and I can tell you, no, they look very bespoke to your hotel. It's one of the things that we have very much ingrained in our DNA, that we try to be, as flexible as possible for the hotels that we work with, for those partners. And when Franziska was leading us through the installation of the Art Deco Hotel, you were able to see, the colors were the colorways, like the CI, corporate identity, was very much in tune with what the hotel has, the logos, the fonts. But it goes even further than that. So if you have specific, requirements when it comes to, do your boxes have like round edges or flat edges, we have a number of designs that we can support, and with those customization possibilities, the possibilities are basically endless for the installation to look exactly what you want it to look like.
Perfect. Thank you, Tillman. We have another question here. How long does it take to implement SuitePad in, for instance, 100 rooms hotel?
Franziska, should we use the Art Deco Hotel Montana as an example?
Yeah, but to be honest, because I was not here in the beginning, I can't tell the time we took for the implementation. I just can tell it about last year when we changed to the new corporate design, and that took us maybe 2 or 3 weeks. So that was a very short time where we implemented everything. But maybe you can say it more in general for a new implementation.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Plus, it's been a while since we started to work together. So the process is very well defined, and it doesn't really matter how many rooms you have. So 100 rooms, 400 rooms, or 15 rooms doesn't really make a big difference in terms of onboarding time, because the crucial point for us is, what do you want to have in there in terms of content? What we do is we kick off a process as soon as we start working together, which lasts anywhere between 6 weeks, typically to 8 weeks. That's like a typical time frame for us to onboard a customer. It can take longer if you need more time to provide certain pieces of content, but it can also go quicker if you're in a big rush. So we do have fast tracks that we can offer every once in a while. Within that process, there's a kickoff. We try to understand what are your goals with SuitePad. So are you trying to save costs? Are you trying to make more revenue? Is it simply something to replace the phone? So that can vary, right, for per hotel. I think here in the Art Deco Hotel, we've seen a good example of all of those things. But for some hotels, it's a little bit more, niche. And we'll talk to you about those goals. Our project managers will. We'll write them down, and then we come up with, based on the content that you give us within 2 weeks or so, we come up with a first installation after 4 weeks after signature, and then another 2 weeks for the tweaks, and then the 6 weeks are over, and we can be live with 2 trainings, one how to manipulate the content, and another how to use the tablets in the day-to-day business. So very much defined, 6 to 8 weeks. That's roughly the time frame.
Perfect. Thank you. Another question here is, have you thought about using a mobile app?
So Franziska, how about I take this one first, and then I'm curious to hear, because I'd like to leave you with the closing remarks on that, because you are using a BYOD solution. The problem, let's talk about mobile devices, guest mobile devices, because I think the problem with apps themselves are that if I walk into a supermarket, for instance, and the supermarket tells me download my app, I don't do it, and I don't know many people who do. The problem of application distribution is enormous unless you are one of the top 5, probably not even that, worldwide hotel brands who have a loyalty program that is so strong that everyone loves to use your app. But that's not true for most hotels. Then there's great technology out there that works on guest-owned devices, but is not an app, so mobile websites. And that's something that we do called BYOD, bring your own device, and that's what Francisco was referencing earlier. There we are, we do offer it, and we very much advocate using it for the use cases that Francisco will outline in a second. What we don't advocate doing is using it as the only way of connecting to guests, because there will always have to be some sort of channel for the guest to interact with in the room. And if we look at the engagement rates of QR codes that are scanned, or those captive portals when you sign up for the Wi-Fi on your phone, you have bounce rates in excess of 90%. And those are measurable numbers that we've seen on our own solution, simply because if I'm connecting to the Wi-Fi, I want to get to Gmail as quickly as possible. I don't want to spend too much time with the hotel information. Now, we still offer it because we do think it makes sense for certain use cases, and pre-stay, I think, is one of the strongest ones out there. I think, Franziska, that's a perfect way for you to talk about how you use it in your pre-stay communication.
Yeah, exactly. We will use it in the pre-stay for all the information the guest needs before them stay. For example, all arrival information, weather forecast, the classic A to Z, when is check-in, when is check-out, do we have some parking lots? So all these questions we try to explain before now in the pre-stay through SuitePad. And what, in my opinion, is also very nice, they can go on the link at every time they want. They can check it again 5 minutes before, they can check it 3 days before. So they always have the possibility to go on all our information. And then when they come to the hotel, they have the SuitePad, as you said, with the connection that they can order everything to the room, because the SuitePad is connected to the room, which is not possible anymore with your own device. And we also, like you mentioned before, didn't like that the guests need to download the app. That's why we decided against own hotel app or a software like that.
Great. Thank you both for answering that question. I think we have time for one or two more questions here. So here is one question for Franziska. Is the phone feature used a lot to contact reception, or is it used more for external calls?
It's more to contact the reception. Yeah, to ask questions about the hotel. But to be honest, I don't have the exactly numbers how many guests call external. But I would say, I mean, it's not so comfortable to talk on the SuitePad for hours with some friends, so it's more just for a short call to ask anything on the reception. So I would say it's more for internal calls.
Perfect, thanks. So for the last question here, you mentioned that you changed the installation a little. Does this mean that you can modify any content and images within each box? This was already a little bit mentioned in the beginning as well.
Yeah, from my end, yeah.
Yes, with the customization of the installation, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I can change everything in the backend. So I can change all the pictures, I can change the information, I can create new pages. I'm very happy about SuitePad. It's a super fast support, super fast and supportive. So if I need anything, they help me. But normally I can do everything by myself, and I can change the images or all the themes, or for example, last month we could not offer any massages, so I deactivated for 1 month and then I activated again, so I can do everything by myself very quickly.
Super. Super. Yeah, thank you for answering those questions. I think then we will end this webinar. If anyone has anything last minute to say before we end.
No big questions anymore, but let me just take the opportunity. Thank you, Franziska, so much for being here, for leading us through your installation. I think you and the team at Art Deco Hotel Montana have done a great job of using our system. We're really thankful for the partnership. And yeah, thank you also to our audience today for some great questions. And I can also see the number of attendees was pretty much stable throughout the entire webinar, which is also not always the case. So must have been relevant all the way to the end. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you,
Thank you
Tillman.
so much.
Completely agree.
Thank
Yes.
you,
Thanks,
yeah.
everyone.
If you have any other questions, of course, you can always send an email from SuitePad to SuitePad or to Franziska. We will answer as many as we can. Or you can also send it to the feedback survey that'll show up at the end of the webinar. We will answer your questions, of course, in detail if you can. So on behalf of the speakers today and the SuitePad team, thank you so much for everyone for joining us today. And we wish you a super, super day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.